How's everyone doing? Thanks for joining me on my small engine repair channel. Today's project is this Toro single stage Power Clear 421 QR. It's a 4-cycle machine, so non-mixed gas, and the problem the customer is having with it is it won't start. So let's take a look at it and see if we can't get it fixed up for them. All right, guys, so this machine came in yesterday. The customer dropped it off, said that it has spark and they think that the carburetor needs cleaned because they forgot to remove the gas from the tank last year, which is 80 to 90% of the problems that I see with small engine repair. What we're going to do is try and do a function test first to see and replicate the problem. All right, so I did check. It does have gas in it. I am just going to quickly check to make sure it has oil in it as well. Just to make sure. Yep, there's oil in it. I don't want to start this thing if it has no oil. Possibly blow up the engine. Weird things have happened, trust me. All right, so the choke's out. Key is in the on position. Give it a couple shots of prime. This model, unfortunately, does not have the electric start. Let's see what we get. All right, guys, so it does start. I'm not sure why they couldn't get it started, but it starts and runs, but it does run a little bit on the lean side. What I mean by that is that it surges up and down when the engine is running. And you saw me messing around with this choke. So when I pull the choke out, what that does is it enriches the mixture. And usually you just use that for starting. You pull it all the way out and then you push it back in all the way once it warms up. So once it gets started up. But in this case, I had to run it partially with the choke on, which means that it's blocking off some of the air and enriches the mixture, and it's smoothed out. So it does have a little bit of a carb issue. So what I'm hoping to do is just a little, what we call down and dirty carb clean on this thing. I'm going to remove all the fuel from the fuel tank as best I can. And then what we're going to do is we're going to remove the float bowl from the carburetor, which is up and under here, right there. There's your carb float bowl. I'm going to remove that guy, and then I'm going to clean out from the bottom side without taking the whole thing off. If I have to take this whole carburetor off, it's going to double or triple the length of time of this job because I got to take this whole chute off with these 3 screws. I have to take this whole cover off with 4 screws, well 3 because there's 1 missing. And then I would have to take off this back panel right here, including that choke knob, just to get access to this carburetor. So hopefully we don't have to do that. Hopefully we can just get away with a down and dirty carb clean. It doesn't seem like it's that bad, so I think just changing out the gas and cleaning up the main jet should be enough to get this thing back running tip-top. Alright guys, so I got you up on my little lawnmower lift here, and I got it up on its lid here. What I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to pinch off these fuel line, this fuel line with these pliers here. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is, here's the clamp here for the fuel line that goes into the carburetor. I'm going to try and do my best to finagle this one-handed. Here we go. And then I'm going to have to try and finagle this fuel line here off the carb, which we've done. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to put it back down here on its lid, or right way up, I should say. And I'm going to drain out all the fuel out of that fuel tank. Alright, so that fuel is done dripping out of that fuel line, and the gas is bad. It's definitely last year's gas, but it's not the worst I've seen. I've had one earlier in this year that's had neon orange fuel in it. So anyways, I'm going to go back and put it up on its lid here, and then we're going to get to doing the down and dirty carb clean. Alright, so there's not going to be any real easy way to do this without making a mess, because there is fuel in this float bowl. So unfortunately, you're going to make a mess. So just try and do it outside or do it in a well ventilated area. So you need a 10mm wrench socket, something that'll take off a 10mm bolt. And actually, you know what? Mine doesn't have a whole lot of fuel in it. And the reason being for that is because when I had it, I actually flipped it over on its side to try and get some fuel out of the top through the gas cap. And fuel dripped out of the primer line, which means that all that fuel that was in this float bowl came out through the primer system and onto my floor. So a little bit came out. It's definitely wet, but yours might have a little bit more than that. All right, so the next thing we need to get to for this down and dirty is right up and in here in this pickup tube. You can see right there, there is it's a jet, it's a main jet. It's got a flathead screw sort of built into it for a flathead screwdriver. So we need to get ourselves one and take that little jet out. So you're gonna need yourself something that has no shank, or a flat, like sort of a flat shank on it. Sometimes most flathead screwdrivers have like a widened shank on it, and it won't fit up and in there in that tube. So anyways, get yourself a flathead screwdriver that'll fit in there, and then you want to put a lot of pressure upwards while you're turning, because this is a brass jet and it's very soft metal, and you don't want to strip that flathead portion off, because then it'll be junky. You have to replace the carburetor. All right, so Now, because I have it up on an angle, it only unscrews so far, and then it just kind of falls out the rest of the way. So it won't continue to unscrew for you all the way out typically. So what I might have to do here is lower it, and then sometimes if you tap the tube here, that little bit of vibration will cause that main jet to actually fall out. Okay guys, so this is what that little main jet looks like, and there's a hole there. You can see right through this one. So to me, that doesn't seem like our problem. So what I'm also going to do is get up and under here, and I'm going to spray some carb cleaner up and into that pickup tube where there's an emulsion tube up and in there as well. The other thing I'm going to do is get in here, and right where that Phillips head screw head is there is a idle jet. So I'm sure nobody's been cleaning that out. So I'm going to take that idle jet out as well and take a look at that and see if that's causing our problem too. All right, so this isn't an idle jet here. This screw is an adjustment actually for your idle speed. So what you would want to do is you would want to screw this in all the way and count how many turns you've done that. And then you know that when you put it back together, it was X amount of turns out from being all the way in. All right, so I ran mine in. It was 4 3/4 turns to get it to bottom out. So I would say, right in and around that area. So what you're gonna have to do when you go to put this back on, is drive it in all the way and then back it out 4 3/4 turns. Okay, so that's just for the idle speed. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but get my fat hands out of the way. Right where the end of my screwdriver is, there is now a black cap that actually goes down inside the carburetor here. You're going to need the flathead screwdriver and kind of pry this cap up. This is actually your idle jet. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get this done while I'm recording here. And the other thing I don't want to do is lose this thing in. And okay, so I got my two pieces out here now. Again, this is your idle screw, just to set the idle speed. And here is the idle jet. Okay, I got that guy out. Now, the idle jet, you can see it's got a huge hole through the side of it. Okay, and you won't be able to see this. I don't know if I can shine a light down and in there. I don't think that's going to make much difference, but down inside this hole, which again is very down inside here, there is a tiny little hole that allows fuel through it, and it passes through there and then into those bigger holes. Okay, so this hole is super tiny, and what I found is the only thing that will kind of fit through there is a piece of wire from a wire brush or wire wheel, and it fits down. It should fit down in through there, and you'll be able to see it come through. But I'm trying to push this through, There it goes. I had to put quite a bit of force to get that to go through. So this little idle jet was clogged up pretty good. So I'm going to work this around back and forth a little bit. I'm going to try and clean out some of this green. You can kind of see, well, maybe not if it'll over focus, but there's a kind of these green flakes chunking off just from sitting in the fuel. Gets all green, corrosion building up on there. So you can see, hopefully, so you can see there that this wire is actually popping through there now, whereas when I first started it, I had to push it through hard. So I'm going to keep working this a little bit. I'm going to try and clean out the green gunk from out of there with a little brass wire brush, or whatever I can kind of fit in there to try and find something that will clean out that green corrosion that's starting in there. And I'll spray that out with some carb spray before I put it all back together. Now sometimes even this doesn't work, and what you have to do is find a little micro drill bit and drill this out one size bigger. You don't want to go too big with it, then it'll run too rich, too much fuel. But let's hope we don't have to go down that route. So I'll keep working on this. I'll put it back together and we'll see how we did. Alright guys, so I've cleaned this guy up and you can just barely make out that hole. It's really tough to see, but you can see that black speck in the middle there. You couldn't see that at all before because that whole cavity there where that hole is was caked with green corrosion. So I've cleaned all that out the best I can, spray it with some carb clean, and we're going to put it all back together. Alright, I got some fresh gas in it, and we're ready to try and fire it up. Keys on. A couple shots of primer. Choke's on. There you go guys, she's been running about 5 minutes, and as you can see, the choke is in the off position. So no surging, no nothing, just a matter of cleaning out that idle jet, I think was the major problem there with the corrosion built up inside of it. So anyways guys, that's what ethanol fuel does for your machines, especially when you let them sit for you know, the entire summer months. But so anyways, hopefully it was informative for you guys. If you liked it, please go ahead and smash the like button. If you're not a subscriber, consider doing so. We do a lot of small engine repair stuff, and if that's your thing, grab a coffee Saturday mornings, check out my new videos, and appreciate that. So until our next project guys, take care.